Hi, everybody. Happy Monday. Hopefully, you had a great weekend and a good week with your other classes. We are moving on to our second unit, and this entire note is handwritten, so there's no handouts to go with this to fill in. This is our second quadratics unit, often found to be the harder of the two, but definitely you guys can do it. And today we are going to expand binomials. Our learning goal is simply just to learn how to multiply binomials. What is a binomial? A binomial is just something that has two terms. So you can see we have an x plus 3, that's two terms, and an x plus 2, two terms. So expand and simplify, or multiplying binomials, you're just multiplying two of those things together. And there's often an acronym that we use when we're doing this. And that acronym is FOIL. So just for this first example, I'm going to write down all of these things. So FOIL, F-O-I-L. And the F stands for first. So now I like to draw these little arrows. Sometimes other teachers call this the rainbow way of doing things, but we have first, you do first times first, and x times x gives you x squared. So maybe something to take note of, that x times x always equals x squared. The O stands for outside, so we multiply the outside terms. X times 2 gives you 2x's. The I stands for inside, so we multiply the inside terms. 3 times x gives you 3x. Finally, the L stands for last. You multiply the last two things. 3 times 2 is 6. Essentially what you're doing is you are making sure that everything in the first bracket gets multiplied by everything in the second bracket. Now that we have that done, simplify means collect like terms. And remember, going back to your review unit, for something to be like terms, that just means that they have the same letter, so same variable, in this case x, but they also have to have the same exponent. So there's no other x squareds, there's no other plain numbers like the 6. However, there's two terms in the middle that both have just a plain x with them, 2x and 3x. And when I add those, I get 5x. So this equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. And we are done. So we multiplied two binomials. We ended up with a trinomial, which just means we had three terms. We had an x squared, an x, and then just a plain number. Remember when we did our review unit, we did distributive property, and distributive property was just multiplying one thing, a coefficient, by a binomial. So we're just kicking that up a notch, and we end up with one more multiplication step. So moving on to a couple other examples here just to practice. And I'm going to stop writing FOIL. If you want to write FOIL, you are more than welcome to. But I like to just do the arrows. So with A here, we're going to do first times first, x times x, x squared, outside, x times 3, 3x, inside, negative 5 times x, negative 5x, last, negative 5 times 3, negative 15, and then collect like terms. And as long as it's set up this way, 95% of the time your like terms are going to be in the middle. So x squared, and then 3x minus 5x gives you negative 2x minus 15. Same process for B. First times first, x times x gives you x squared. Outside, x times negative 2, negative 2x. Inside, negative 4 times x, negative 4x. And last, negative 4 times negative 2 plus 8. Collect like terms, which are on the inside again. X squared minus 6x plus 8. And we have successfully expanded two binomials again. So far, hopefully not too bad. We're going to slowly kick it up a little bit. So what's different between these two versus the first three that we've done? It's not just x times x anymore. If you take a look, there's now a coefficient here. And on the part B, when we get there, there's actually a coefficient there and there. Same thing. We're still going to FOIL. First times first, 2x times x gives you 2x squareds. Outside, 2x times 4 gives you 4x. Inside, 1 times x gives you 1x, or just x. And 1 times 2, the last, gives you 2. Collect like terms, 2x squared plus 5x plus 2. B, first times first. So 2x times 4x, make sure you multiply the numbers first. So 2 times 4 gives you 8, and then x times x gives you 8x squared. Outside, 2x times 9 gives you 18x. Inside, negative 7 times 4, negative 28x. And then the last, negative 7 times 9 is negative 63. Collect like terms, they're in the middle again. 8x squared. And then you got 18x minus 28x gives you negative 10x minus 63. So not too bad, just numbers are going to be a little bit higher. Okay, example 4. It still says expand and simplify, however, this does not look like any of the ones that we've done so far. This does not have a binomial multiplied by a binomial. This just has one binomial, so like x plus 4 in brackets and then squared. Now, if some of you are thinking do x squared and then do 4 squared, it's not a bad idea, but unfortunately it doesn't work out like that. So one thing you want to kind of remember to help us get to the process, if I was to ask you what 3 squared is, you type in your calculator, or you could tell me, well, it's 9. But how did you get 9, or how did your calculator get 9? And you have to remember that whenever you square something, that's just that number multiplied by itself. So really, if you knew the answer was 9, or your calculator gave you 9, really what your calculator did was something times itself. So 3 squared is just 3 times 3, which we know is 9. We're going to follow that same process, but for these binomials. So when I see x plus 4 squared, really what that means is x plus 4 times itself. So really just write two of them side by side. Now we're going to FOIL. So x times x for first times first, x squared. Outside, x times 4, 4x. Inside, 4 times x, 4x. And 4 times 4 for the last terms, 16. Collect like terms in the middle. 4x plus 4x gives you 8x plus 16. So as you can see, if you're thinking to just do x and then square, which gives you x squared, and then do 4 and square, which gives you 16, you wouldn't be 100% correct. You'd be missing that middle term of 8x. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to try the exact same thing here. So again, I see squared. Really that just means something times itself. In other words, just write two of them and then FOIL. First times first, 2x times 2x, 4x squared. Outside, 2x times 3, 6x. Inside, 3 times 2x, 6x. And then last, 3 times 3 is 9. collect like terms. 4x squared, 6x plus 6x just gives you 12x plus 9. Okay, getting a little bit more involved yet again. Still expand and simplify. This looks similar to what we just did in number 4, except for there's actually now a number out front. That looks like our a value, if you remember from vertex form. So there are two ways to do this. We're going to split it into two. And I'm never going to force you on a test to do it one way or the other. You just maybe, when it comes time to do some C work, you practice both methods a couple times, and then after that you pick the one that you like the best, and you just become very, very good at that. So I'm going to do method number 1 over here. And this would be for people that like to FOIL first. So I'm going to write FOIL first. So we're going to rewrite that 2. And then just like last example, you see x plus 1 squared. That means something times itself. So x plus 1, x plus 1. And you're going to leave that 2 until the very end because you're someone that wants to FOIL first. So first times first, x squared. Outside 1 times x is x. Inside 1 times x is x. Last 1 times 1 is 1. And then collect like terms. X plus x just gives you 2x. So we did all the FOILing. Our last step is to distribute. So just like during the review unit, you see a number out front of the brackets, you multiply in. So 2 times x squared gives you 2x squared. 2 times 2x gives you 4x. And 2 times 1 gives you 2. Done. So there's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it, so we'll call this method number 2. This would be someone that wants to distribute first. Your first step is still the same. You see x plus 1 squared. You're going to rewrite that 2, and you're going to do x plus 1 times x plus 1, just like the first step we just did. However, if you're this person, you actually want to save the FOILing for the end. So you want to distribute first. So you're going to take that 2 and you're going to multiply in, but you only ever multiply it into the first bracket. You don't multiply that 2 into both brackets. So 2 times x, 2x. 2 times 1 is 2, and then you rewrite the x plus 1. And then once you're there, now you're going to FOIL. First times first, 2x times x, 2x squared. Outside, 2x times 1, 2x. Inside, 2 times x, 2x. Last, 2 times 1, 2. Collect like terms. So those are the middle terms. 2x squared, 2x plus 2x gives you 4x plus 2. And as you can see, we got the exact same answer, like we should. Just two different ways of doing the exact same question. So just to reiterate, I'm not going to force you to do either one of these two methods. You practice both of them a couple times maybe, and then you pick which one you actually like the best. There is no right answer. There is no one that's better than the other. It's completely up to you. The last example that we are going to do for our video lesson, a little bit of a word problem. So you're going to write a simplified expression for the area of the rectangle and then find the area when x equals 6. So we have a rectangle. We have, I'll call that the length. I'll call that the width. So we have a length, we have a width, both with x's in them. we're going to come up with an expression and then figure out what the area is. So the first thing you should start with, how do you find area of a rectangle? Hopefully you remember it is length times width. So the area of this rectangle is 3x, it doesn't matter what order you put these in, 3x plus 7, that's my length, times my width, 2x minus 2. And we've just done a whole lesson on what to do when you have to multiply binomials. First times first, 3x times 2x, 6x squared, 3x times negative 2, negative 6x, inside 7 times 2x, 14x, and then last 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. Collect like terms, it's our middle ones. 6x squared, negative 6x plus 14x is 8x, and then minus 14. So there's the first part of the question. We've found the area, or at least a simplified expression for the area. Now the second part, we want to find the area when x equals 6. So the second part here, when x equals 6. So we're going to put 6 in, we're going to substitute 6 wherever we see x, which just means replace. So I see an x. Remember, it's a good idea to put it in brackets. So 6 times 6 squared plus 8 times 6 minus 14. And if we use our calculator, 6 squared is 36 times 6 is 216 plus 48 minus 14. And I'll just continue up over here. So if I do 216 plus 48, I'm going to get 264 minus 14. 264 minus 14 is going to give us 250, and then our units would be centimeters squared. And so we have successfully come up with our simplified expression, and we just figured out what the area was when x equals 6 centimeters. 250, and then don't forget for area, centimeters squared. Definitely not too bad in terms of word problems. That's it for your video lesson. Once you're done copying it all down, you are going to work on workbook section 2.1. Try to get the whole thing complete. And then when I get to class later on this morning, we'll continue with the rest of our lessons. See you soon.